have a mansion. In the post-apocalyptic world by Morning Star LL. Chapter 161, Hacker Attack. This is our backend data. Xia Shiyu leaned down to press a few buttons on the laptop, then she turned the screen towards Jiang Chen with a rare prideful look displayed on her face. It was the server management system designed by Yao Yao from which server activities were monitored. 25.27 million registered users. The number wasn't overly high, considering Future 1.0 was a one-person one-account registration system. Therefore, New Era was linked to Little White, which didn't allow fake accounts. This made it so that the number reflected the number of people actually playing the game, unless they had multiple phones. The reason behind eliminating Smurfs was simple: to avoid having people open multiple accounts with the intent to disturb the economy within the game and use up server resources. New Era operated on one server in the entire country and used cloud computing to transfer calculation data from the client to the server. Even with Yao Yao's magically modified server, there was an inordinate amount of stress placed on it. The peak concurrent users have hit 15.03 million and the average concurrent user number is 8.14 million. It's nothing short of a miracle. Xia Shiyu couldn't seem to stop talking. What about the profit? Jiang Chen immediately asked. He was concerned about their new revenue model. Would such an innovation fit the market? He knew the game was online for just 2 days, which was too early to tell, but he still couldn't help but ask. Xia Shiyu smiled and clicked the screen. This is the current total auction amount, already exceeding 14 million. With a 5% commission fee, revenue has reached 700,000 within the first 24 hours of operation. So much? Jiang Chen was shocked. He wasn't surprised by the revenue within the last 24 hours but rather by the auction amount of 14 million. It reflected the people's interest in game spending. And it'll only increase. Xia Shiyu's voice was emotional, her voice trembling. The player's current method of obtaining gold in the game is still slow, making a huge gap in demand. The current ratio of gold to RMB has even risen to a high price of 1 to 5.6. Jiang Chen's initial reaction to Xia Shiyu's words was to pause. He didn't allow joy to overwhelm his thoughts, rather, he became more cautious. Do you think someone is manipulating the auction house price? Just like with stocks, prop it up high, get players to accumulate gold, and then massively overflood the market? Hearing Jiang Chen raise his concern, Xia Shiyu's eyebrows also tensed. I've already considered this possibility, but for now, the operations department has yet to come up with a workable plan. Some suggested that we follow the rules from the Han stock market and establish a circuit breaker in gold exchange prices to prevent market manipulation. Some proposed establishing a bank organization within the game internally so that once the gold rises above a tolerable range, they would sell or purchase back the gold. But both of these solutions have their own pros and cons and are still under debate. Hearing this, Jiang Chen almost burst out laughing. Are you planning on changing the epic magical genre into a financial one? Xia Shiyu seemed lost. Ahem, just joking around. Let's get to the main point. We can look at the broader economic balance in the game. Since the auction house is similar to securities, how could a bunch of game operators come up with a solution? We can follow what Valve did with Dota 2, hire someone studying finance to monitor the auction house. Hearing his suggestion, Xia Shiyu's eyes lit up. The problem that hounded her was solved with a simple sentence, making her consider him a few more times. Why are you looking at me? Feeling slightly shy from her gaze, Jiang Chen scratched his nose. I just realized that you're actually quite smart. She smiled, and it was like a beautiful flower blossoming on her gorgeous face. Dazzled by this brief glimpse, Jiang Chen jokingly replied, I also just realized that you're quite beautiful when you smile. Xia Shiyu blushed and coughed before hastily changing the topic. On the other hand, based on the current skins available in the store, there has only been 150,000 in revenue, but this number is expected to steadily increase. Also, after the one-time warehouse expansion, just on the first day of operation alone, it managed to rake in an impressive 4.21 million. However, this number is expected to drop as the number of new users decreases. These are the operational results from the past 2 days. As she spoke, Xia Shiyu opened another window to show to Jiang Chen. The revenue from the first 2 days was 10.41 million. Seeing this number, Jiang Chen couldn't help but gasp. From this result, New Era easily destroyed the majority of mobile games that made that much in a month. If they maintained this upward trend in profit and user base, it wouldn't be a stretch to say a New Era would break a monthly revenue of 200 million. Subtracting costs and tax expenses, this revenue combined with Future 1.0's made Future Technology a megacorporation with a 50 million monthly profit. Jiang Chen was so ecstatic when he heard the news that he immediately declared a bonus of 10,000 to everyone in the operating team. With a boss like you who gives out bonuses so frequently, the project team can just depend on those bonuses. Xiaoxiu smiled at Jiang Chen's ecstatic expression. Jiang Chen laughed. Then the employees would want me to check up on them every day. Just as Xiaoxiu was about to mock him by saying, "Then why don't you come by every day?" the laptop on the table flashed a red alert symbol. Jiang Chen was confused, but Xiaoxiu sighed as if it wasn't a big deal. This already the 12th time today. They were heavily grouped around the morning hours, but then here we go again. Network being infiltrated? Jiang Chen frowned. That's right. It was more frequent yesterday. Xiaoxiu continued, in the beginning, our programmers were highly focused on dealing with the attacks, but when we found that they couldn't even break past the server firewall, we began to ignore it. Speaking of which, how can we get rid of this alert? It always forcefully increases the volume and stays in the middle of the screen. It would be funny if they managed to infiltrate the firewall, Jiang Chen muttered in his mind. Ahem, I'll get the overseas team to make some adjustments. He only had to have Yao tweak it, very simple. As Jiang Chen and Xiaoxiu ignored the hacking alert on the laptop, in an apartment 100 kilometers away was a man in a black tracksuit. He resembled a zombie with his deep eye sockets as he typed furiously on the keyboard. The veins on his arms were abnormally prominent, and his bloodshot eyes seemed as though they would pop out at any time. A pallid face showed from beneath his hoodie, and with his small figure, he looked underage from all perspectives. The typing speed he demonstrated, however, would embarrass any professional writer. Of course, he was not a professional writer but rather a hacker. How can this be possible? How can this be possible? Lines of code, or at least, lines of error codes, were reflected on his pupils. The typing stopped when the screen flashed multiple red crosses. No matter how many times he tried, it was the same result. They had to have a security team of at least 10 professionals. As soon as his hands left the keyboard, the room quieted down, and all that could be heard was the humming of the computer fans. Can't beat it. CLA raised his head, and he sank into the chair feeling defeated. He stared blankly at the ceiling as he mumbled, "It's only fair. If they could do something as insane as artificial intelligence, there's no way their security would be terrible." Bored, he took out his phone and poked Little White's stomach. Seeing him giggle adorably, CLA genuinely laughed. Honestly, he didn't hold any animosity towards future technology. To be able to develop such a fun software. At that moment, the phone suddenly rang. When he saw who the caller was, his smile cooled considerably. Caller, Black Dragon. Hello? CLA said grimly upon picking up. How's the job you're working on? Black Dragon laughed. Black Dragon was obviously not his name, but if a hacker exposed his identity, it would be the same as stripping naked and running out onto the street. Which of them didn't do anything illegal before? Exposure meant death. With the knowledge that they controlled evidence, CLA's face twisted for a moment before he took a deep breath. Future technology security is too strong. No matter how hard I try, I can't go around the firewall. You're also in the business. You should know how difficult. Can't do it? Black Dragon interrupted. My suggestion is for you to take it more seriously. This is for an important person. Based on our long-standing relationship, I'll give you 20,000 allowances after this is finished, he said slowly. 20,000? Since when are you so generous? CLA mocked. Black Dragon, who was usually too cheap to give a few thousand, was now offering 20,000? The client this time must have offered more than $1 million. Don't bullsh** me. If you don't want it, fine, I was only pitying you and you mock me? Let me tell you, Green Bird, or CLA, if you don't do a good job, just wait for the cops to show up at your door. After finishing, Black Dragon hung up. Taking a deep breath, CLA flung the phone to the side and buried his head between his knees. Green Bird was a renowned name among hackers, but it was useless. The CLA in front of the computer screen was only an ordinary teenager. Damn it. He smashed his fist onto the table. On the phone screen, Little White curled back anxiously. He couldn't see CLA's expression since the camera was covered, but he could detect agony from the sound waves. Just as CLA was despairing, a tiny hand patted his head. Brother, a young girl stood behind him and whispered. Her face was similarly pallid, but it looked graceful in a way that healed when seen. The only unfortunate part was that she had no color in her pupils. She couldn't see. Cielin, his sister. CLA placed his hand on hers and tightly held onto it with a forced smile. Don't worry, brother is here. Even though he knew she couldn't see, he struggled to smile. The girl continued to smile gently. Don't tire yourself out. Seeing the bright smile on his sister's face, there was only remorse in his heart. Listen to brother. I got another deal. The boss is generous and offered 20,000 in compensation. Whoa, brother is so impressive. Her hands clasped together in front of her chest as she slightly opened her mouth in surprise. Your brother is really impressive. Therefore, I will heal your eyes. Xiaolei desperately kept his tone normal while his fingers tightly clenched onto the armrests. He was not afraid of going to jail. He was done with Black Dragon's manipulation. But what stopped him from going was his sister Xiaolin. If he went to jail, his only source of income would disappear. Not only would he be unable to treat her eyes, it would also be difficult to live. He took a deep breath, his mind already made. Although the hope was slim, he had to take a gamble. Chapter 162, Company Gathering. When Jiang Chen announced a bonus of 10,000 for everyone, the employees all began to cheer in joy. Xia Shiyu, who stood beside him, rubbed her face. She whispered, "Didn't you say a bonus only to the New Era project members? How did it become everyone?" Hearing that, Jiang Chen paused before immediately laughing it away. "That's fine. Everyone contributed, so everyone should be rewarded. There are a lot of employees in future technology, but no one is an extra. Boss." Chen Lulu in the legal department put her palms together as if she was praying to Jiang Chen. "What?" Jiang Chen smiled. "You look like you're glowing." At the edge of the circle, Sumingqi stopped clapping along with her colleagues. As she watched Jiang Chen, who was surrounded, there was a different light flashing in her eyes, like a magpie that had just discovered shining jewelry. "Girl, are you thinking about someone?" her friend said with a smirk. She stood beside Sumingqi and poked her friend in the arm. "Feng, Sumingqi murmured, as if she hadn't heard her friend's words. Seeing the lost face on her friend's face, Li Fengying looked at her confusedly. "What? Who do you think is prettier? Me and Xiaoxia?" Sumingqi said with a pout, her eyes drawn to the person in the center. "PSH. Wait. You? I have decided." She suddenly clapped her hands, a fighting light burning in her eyes. "I've changed my mind." Future Technology had a total of 34 employees. With a bonus of 10,000 per person, that came out to only 340,000, this was a drop of water in the vast sea of Future Technology's future profits. Following the growth of the company, their monthly salary would eventually be far greater than that number. But what Jiang Chen didn't know was that the employees were touched not by the 10,000 bonus but rather by what he said at the end. There are a lot of employees in Future Technology, but no one is an extra. Nothing else instilled such a sense of belonging as having one's own value recognized. They spent days and nights drafting plans, discussing marketing strategy, and handling the details of the operation. Other than working for the salary, did they not want to be recognized for their values? No one felt this as strongly as Jiang Chen did ever since he was fired at will. He was a small employee working in the sales department of a clothing store. He knew in his heart the powerless feeling that no matter how hard he worked, he would never receive any recognition. Sometimes, people were more easily touched than expected. These words were later printed in Future Technology's employee manual as the company's culture used to encourage new employees. But this is an afterthought. With everyone's moods at an all-time high, Jiang Chen immediately announced a gathering at Xinrong restaurant, with all expenses paid for by the company. A boss this generous naturally received the praise of the employees. Most people disliked business gatherings, but upon hearing that they would have the opportunity to have a meal with the mysterious but legendary boss, they began to look forward to it. After getting off from work, the group of 30-plus people arrived at Xinrong restaurant. Befitting its 5-star reputation, Xinrong restaurant was magnificently built. Xia Shiyu had already reserved a room, so when the restaurant manager saw the crowd of 30 people, he put on his brightest smile and personally ushered them to the private room. He also courteously gave Jiang Chen a VIP card that gave 20% off the tab. The dinner table was a bustling scene. Jiang Chen happily accepted his employees' toasts, but considering that he had to drive, he took care not to drink too much and placed the remainder in the storage dimension. Sitting beside him was the second-in-command, Xia Shiyu. Jiang Chen was surprised to find that she was quite popular in the company as she received many proposed toasts as well. Xia Shiyu accepted them all without refusing a single one, but because of her tolerance, she used a small cup. Regardless, her face turned red after a few shots, which couldn't look more attractive on her. The mood became heightened as Jiang Chen didn't act like a boss at all, boasting instead with the employees about anything and everything. The topic soon turned to personal questions about the internet-famous president's personal life. Everyone was quite curious. "President, let me propose a toast. I wish for your greater success." At this time, Sumingqi stood and raised her cup with a smile. Based on the alcohol culture in China, it was disrespectful to propose a toast to the boss before the direct manager did so. Because of the lack of employees, however, Future Technology did not yet have an established human resources department, and so Xia Shiyu was in charge of everything. Therefore, Sumingqi's direct manager should have been Xia Shiyu. But CEO Xia, either from shyness or other concerns, didn't propose a toast to Jiang Chen from the start of the dinner until now, despite sitting beside him. Despite that, Sumingchi toasting Jiang Chen did not befit the culture. Of course, there was also an unwritten rule that beauties were the exception. I'll accept your kind words. Jiang Chen stood and also raised his cup before throwing back the drink. Sumingchi simultaneously finished the drink in her cup, and 2 red clouds appeared on her cheeks. Her watery eyes shimmered. Under the influence of alcohol, she gazed into Jiang Chen's eyes and asked, "President, can I ask you a question?" "Ask away, as long as it's not for my bank password," Jiang Chen laughed as he joked. "Then my question is, does President have anyone he likes?" It was a bold question, drawing a wave of chattering, and the mood at the dinner table was suddenly pushed to a climax. Sumingchi's face with light makeup began to blush even more under the cheers of her colleagues, but her watery eyes didn't move away. Many people speculated that CEO Xia had feelings for the president, but when she remained unperturbed by the question, people began to question their suspicions. Everyone was already an adult, there was no way she was this reserved. "Yes, President. If you don't tell us because we're men, then shouldn't you reveal some information to the beautiful lady?" Yes, our Miss Su is already giving you hints, so you should say something." Recalling that the president was still single, the crowd began to root for the two. Sumingchi was indeed a gorgeous girl, and she seemed interested in the president. Many times, it worked out like this, although they didn't hold strong feelings for each other, under everyone's influence, they would somehow develop feelings for each other. It was a top priority to help the president stay away from the single life. If it ended up working out, their fussing now would become an assistance later. Not only were there benefits, but in the future, it would be a favor. If they ended up getting married, with Jiang Chen's generosity, a hefty red envelope would come their way. And even if it didn't end up working out, it was a light jest at the dinner table, so not many thought too deeply on it. For some reason, Xia Shiyu buried her head and poked at her fish, feeling wronged. She had the urge to stand up and do something, but she didn't know exactly what, so she couldn't find a reason to get up. Jiang Chen gave a troubled smile. This was a difficult question to answer. Sun Jiao and Yao Yao were from the other world. Aisha's identity and age were unique, so it wasn't good to expose them. Lu Yao was a celebrity and would not be good to expose as a mistress. F***ck, he thought he had so many girls, but not a single one could be brought home for New Year's. Yes? After careful deliberation, Jiang Chen gave an incredibly vague answer. Even after hearing the response, Sumingchi didn't give up. Just as she was about to ask, "What do you like about her?" Future 1.0's project manager Nin Huajian suddenly stood and proposed a toast with a smile. "President Jiang is young but achieved. I have worked in the IT industry for 5 years and have seen a number of industry prodigies. But the only person whom I respect from the bottom of my heart is President Jiang. I'll finish the drink." Nin Huajian chugged the alcohol in his cup and flipped it to show his respect, making the crowd cheer. Jiang Chen understood that Nin Huajian was helping him get out of an awkward situation, so he gladly raised his cup. After Jiang Chen finished his drink, the three sat down. Sumingchi also realized that she was rushing it. Thankfully, Nin Huajian saved her from persisting, or else she would have committed the taboo of putting her boss in a difficult situation. Besides Sumingchi's anxious emotions, Xia Shiyu's heart was also turbulent. She recalled the scene during the last press conference. At that time, Jiang Chen seemed to have indicated that he didn't like anyone. But there was someone. Who could it be? He barely showed up at the company this month and barely saw her. Could it be someone he met overseas on a business trip? Why do I care about his personal life? Just as Xia Shiyu was in a mental quandary, the topic at the table switched directions. "CEO Xia, thank you for your support and guidance. Let me propose a toast to you." Jiang Chen gently poked Xia Shiyu with his elbow. Okay. As if waking from a dream, Xia Shiyu hastily stood and raised her cup. Jiang Chen looked at Xia Shiyu, perplexed. It was rare to see such a frantic expression on her face. In this relatively harmonious atmosphere, the dinner came to an end. Chapter 163, Please close your eyes at night. After the closing remarks of the boss, the dinner officially concluded. People began to leave and started to head home. The total spending was 70,000. Jiang Chen swiped his card without a blink of an eye. But just as he was about to leave, he realized that someone was still there. Xia Shiyu was leaning on the table. Her red blush could be faintly seen on her half-exposed face. She looked like she drank too much. Seeing this, Jiang Chen helplessly let out a sigh and walked towards her. For some strange reason, the girl somehow started to drink shot after shot and got herself drunk. She didn't cause a scene after becoming drunk as she just quietly lied on the table till now. "No one forced you to drink, did you think you were drinking water?" Q-. Jiang Chen put her arms around his neck and used a slight amount of force to lift her up onto his back. Feeling the softness on his back, Jiang Chen's face turned red. Although they were not big, they were surprisingly soft. He quickly coughed to hide his awkwardness as he cleared his mind. Avoiding the dubious look of the waitress, he quickly secured her on his back and left through the door. I am not drunk, taxi. Yes, that's what all drunk people say. The warm breath on his neck made his mind go elsewhere, especially coupled with the softness on his back. It was making him lose his mind. He suppressed the wild thoughts in his mind as he strenuously stuffed Xia Shiyu into the front passenger seat and put the seatbelt on her. When his finger unintentionally slid across her silky waist, he gulped, urged back any more unintentional moves, and closed the door. He started the car and drove his Maybach to Xinchuan community. The smell of alcohol began to rise in the car. Jiang Chen glanced at the completely passed-out girl as he sighed and murmured. You know you are very attractive right now? Xia Shiyu ambiguously muttered something, but it was probably just her sleep talking. Because he was afraid that she would get cold from the wind, Jiang Chen let the alcohol smell build up in the car and didn't open the window. Finally bringing this girl to her front door, Jiang Chen couldn't care more as he used his free hand to search her body, before finding the key and opening the door. He dragged Xia Shiyu, who was drunk like a pile of mud, into her place before he finally got a chance to breathe. But just as he was about to leave, he froze in place. Her white neck was a soft shade of red, her slightly messy hair partially covered her gorgeous celebrity-like face, her bright red lips were parted, breathing a warm but intoxicating smell, her delicate eyebrows furrowed due to discomfort. Seeing Xia Shiyu's letting her guard completely down, Jiang Chen gulped and took a subtle step forward. If he did something now, she probably wouldn't know. But just as the devil-like thought emerged in his mind, he refocused, scared by his own thought. He quickly took 2 deep breaths and forcefully shook his head. Jiang Chen helped her take off her suit and then to make her more comfortable, he unbuttoned the first button on her button-down shirt. After doing all this, he put the sheet on her before sneaking out from the room. He poured himself a cup of water in the kitchen, the cold sensation of water passing through his stomach calmed his heart. After standing for a moment, he looked at the clock on the wall. 10:32. It's already this late? Jiang Chen yawned as the feeling of conflict rose. Xinchuan community was in the complete opposite direction of Mingxing community. If he drove back now, it would be 12 before he arrived at home. Besides, he was already so tired that he really didn't want to drive an hour back. Stay here for the night? Jiang Chen gulped as it was an enticing thought. I did carry her back. It would be okay if I stayed without her permission for one night, right? Thinking, Jiang Chen took out his phone and texted a message to Aisha. I am busy tonight, I won't be back. Jiang Chen let out a long breath of air. He then stretched and scanned the 2-story apartment. There was a bedroom on the 2nd floor, but probably never cleaned out since only Xia Shiyu lived here. Looks like I am sleeping on the sofa tonight. I'll take a shower first. Jiang Chen muttered as he walked to the bathroom. Within the mansion, Aisha had her leg placed on the bar as she gently leaned her body forward, her chin slightly touching her knees. The elegant posture was not only difficult but also aesthetically pleasing to the eyes. Only such exercises could stretch the tendons in the leg to increase the flexibility of the body. This was something genetic vaccine did not provide. Flexibility was one of the most common things that benefited her in all areas, such as fighting, such as doing other certain things. But suddenly, the light bulb went out. Power outage? Aisha's movement stopped. With her body still pressed against her leg, she quietly listened. She didn't rush to check the circuit as she smelled something odd. Her cat-like pupils slightly narrowed in the darkness, giving off a dangerous vibe. As if she had found her prey. Since he couldn't break through the firewall, he could only capture the program developer and figure out the code the hard way. Xian Lei's bloodshot eyes reflected the light on the screen. His lips rose slightly under his hoodie as he spoke in a screeching voice into the Bluetooth headphone. The security system is hacked, your personal information is whitelisted. For a hacker that is ranked 3rd in Hua, and had been flagged on the front page of some unscrupulous organizations, this type of security was too easy for him. Though he hasn't done these types of things without pay for a long time. Confirmed. A female voice came from under the hood of a purple tracksuit. Yan Xiaoyan, the childhood honey of CLA. She has a black belt in Taekwondo, even though she is only 17. Her swift moves could easily beat 5 to 6 adults. Due to her affection towards CLA, she agreed to this dangerous plan without much hesitation. It's taken care of, let's go. She waved at the 2 people behind her, and Yan Xiaoyan led the way to the high-end community. Lu Dahu, known as the Chubby Tiger, is a good friend of CLA. He was 3 years older, spent a few years in the military, and is currently unemployed. Zhang Chao, also CLA's good friend. They met a long time ago on the internet. He was around the same age as CLA. Although he lacked knowledge about computers, he was a huge fan of the military. He was not tall but was skillful with almost all military gadgets. After Xiaolei confessed his trouble, they agreed without hesitation. The plan was simple: sneak into the mansion, control Jiang Chen, drive his car and take him out of the community to the agreed-on spot. They only had 1.5 hours. Once the clock hit 12, the server would reset, and the access control gained by Xiaolei would be lost. His eyes locked onto the screen as Xiaolei already infiltrated the camera within the community. Seeing his 3 friends successfully pass identification at the front door and walk inside of the mansion, he took a deep breath and pressed a few more buttons. The memory of the camera connected to the server was erased, the write function disabled. The camera tonight would not record anything. Once they left, they only needed to delete their personal information from the server. As if they were never there. Xiaolei knew that he and his friends were playing with fire. If they were accidentally caught, all of them would go to jail. People here are all veteran soldiers. Lu Dahu lowered his hat as he mumbled. Aren't you a veteran as well? Zhao Chan with a backpack mocked. It's different. Lu Dahu forced a smile, as his square-looking face looked rather helpless. Based on the vibe I'm getting, they were at least special forces from the army. Be quiet. Yan Xiaoyan, half a step in front of them, whispered. Xiaolin's fingers typed on the keyboard. He constantly changed between cameras while drawing with his right hand and marking the route of the patrol team. Turn right in the front, avoid patrol team A, walk straight into the intersection before turning left. Try to avoid contact with anyone, your guys look odd. Understood. Yan Xiaoyan lowered her voice as she held onto the Bluetooth earphone. She then signaled the 2 people behind her to quickly move to the street on the right. Although they already passed the check at the front door, wandering around this late would easily cause suspension. They were not prepared to be questioned because the backpack Zhang Chao carried had all the tools for crime. 3 sticks, handcuffs, ropes, 3 night vision goggles, and 1 signal jammer. Zhang Chao bought everything from an exclusive channel. They were all authentic product from UAATN Corporation, which shocked Lu Dahu, the veteran soldier. Of course, Xiaolei paid for it. The 3 of them sneaked into the mansion at the deepest part of the community. The European-style high wall, the cut green grass, and the straight brick trail. The building's structure shone with elegance. Damn it, people here must be ridiculously wealthy. Do you think there are bodyguards inside? Zhang Chao mustered as he took off his backpack. If there are any, I'll take care of it. The girl in the purple suit said confidently. She pressed the earphone again. We are in position. Okay. Xiaolei took a deep breath and clicked his tongue. Sparks suddenly came out of the generator on the north side. In an instant, the entire community fell into darkness. With fingers on the keyboard, he simultaneously locked the electrical room's password so that even if they started the backup generator, it would take a while. He had to thank the highly digitalized design of the community. If it were a mechanical lock, there would be nothing that he could do. Without wasting a second, Yan Xiaoyan took out a card from her pocket and swiped it on the metal gate. Xiaolei, who already acquired the password information from the database and had copied the key onto the black card. The card in her hand was equivalent to the actual key and easily opened the door. Quick! Put this on. Zhang Chao excitedly threw the night vision goggles and sticks into their hands and put one on his hand skillfully as well. The night vision goggle not only allowed them to obtain vision in the dark, but it also hid their faces. They quickly sneaked into the mansion and approached the door. Pressing against the door, Zhang Chao took out a lockpick and opened the door with a few clicks. Then he signaled the 2 companions to enter. The mansion looked rather empty, there was no one on the first floor. Based on the lights they saw from the outside, there should be people on the 3rd floor. The 3 quietly waited against the wall. The electric valve was outside. If someone came down to check, they must pass by where they stood. Why is there no noise at all? Typically, shouldn't they all check the valve? Lu Dahu's eyebrows tightened as he said with his voice lowered. Yan Xiaoyan also raised her eyebrows. Not only were there no footsteps heard upstairs, but there was also no lights from a phone or candle. Could it be that Jiang Chen was already asleep, and just forgot to turn off the lights? Let's go to the bedroom. Yan Xiaoyan suppressed her voice as she led the way, sneaking upstairs. It would be up to them once they enter the mansion. The camera in the community could not monitor inside the mansion as it was for the consideration of residents' privacy. The mansion was in a frightening darkness. But the darker it was, the more advantageous it was for them since they had night vision goggles. The camera in the community was installed with internal batteries so that even though the power went out, it could still last for a few more hours. Seeing his friends have already entered the mansion, Xiaolei let out a sigh and leaned against the chair. Now just need to catch Jiang Chen, get the firewall security code from his mouth, hack into the new era server, and delete the user information and gate data clean. Pity, the game is not bad. He shook his head, stared at the open gate, and mustered arrogantly. Please close your eyes at night. Chapter 164, Is there a need to have a reason? Water poured down. Jiang Chen closed the knob before he shook off the droplets of water on his head. He then walked out of the shower as he grabbed a towel beside him and wiped himself. It felt much better after the shower, as if all the alcohol and weariness was washed away. But the faint fragrance in the room put him in an awkward spot physiologically. He thought while he wiped his hair with the towel. But as he wiped, his hand froze in the air. This is Xiaoxi's towel? Thinking that towel once covered a pure blossoming flower, and countlessly wiped the mists off of the leaves. He stared at the towel in his hand as Jiang Chen's expression on his face suddenly turned awkward. But at this time, a blurry but shaky figure suddenly appeared on the opaque glass in the washroom. Jiang Chen, who realized what happened, was about to stop her before the bathroom door was pushed open first. Seeing the haggard Xiaoxiu arduously holding on the door frame. Just as she was about to come in, she was stunned at the doorstep. The cynical thing that appeared in her field of vision made her briefly lost her ability to think. It was hard to describe the expression on her face. Should it be wry, shocked, or humiliated? The air of silence filled the air between the two. Jiang Chen first broke the silence rigidly. He moved the towel to cover the inexplicable part while keeping a straight face. Perhaps maybe she was drunk, or perhaps the image was too shocking. Xiaoxiu didn't scream, but rather she calmed down and silently closed the door. Looking at the door, a bitter smile appeared on Jiang Chen's face. Maybe I should have screamed? Since he already used, and also was seen, might as well finish drying himself. Jiang Chen shameless dried his entire body, then washed her towel before putting his clothes back on. He then left the bathroom. He turned to the living room as Xiaoxiu was already sitting on the sofa. When Jiang Chen came out, her vision immediately gazed onto him. Just as Jiang Chen was mentally prepared for the pervert, sick-minded, the expected anger didn't arrive. Are you going to ask me something? He felt a bit frightened by Xiaoxiu's silence. Jiang Chen careful sat across from her as he said apologetically. Xiaoxiu still didn't say anything. With the aid of the moonlight, it was visible that on the usually cold face, the bright red lips were slightly trembling. Because she is so angry she couldn't express it. Jiang Chen drilled deep into his mind and still couldn't figure out the current mood of this girl. The prideful ice beauty realized after waking up that she was lying on the bed, with clothes slovenly, the first button of the dress shirt unbuttoned, and also a man, pervert, using her washroom to take a shower, using the towel that she had always used. From any perspective, she must not be in the best mood. You were drunk. Jiang Chen awkwardly tried to explain. With the direct stare, Jiang Chen didn't know if she was thinking or mooning out. You were sleeping on the table, so I carried you back on my back. Your car is still there, remember to drive it back tomorrow. Seeing Xiaoxiu did not react, Jiang Chen continued. Why? Seemed like she reacted to this sentence. Xiaoxiu murmured as if she was whispering in her dream. Why? Is that even a question? Jiang Chen had a bitter smile. I can't leave you there by yourself. You live alone, and you drank yourself like that. Be more cautious next time. If a human trafficker is pretending to be someone to be close to you, you don't even know if you were sold to some desolate mountain areas. Hearing this, Xiaoxiu looked over and made eye contact with Jiang Chen. After a long silence, even to her disbelief, she asked, Then would you come to save me? He was shocked by the sudden question. Jiang Chen thought for a glimpse. Yes. Why? It was still the dreamy mutter. Expectation? Or perhaps just confusion? Does there need to be a reason? Jiang Chen sighed as he asked rhetorically. Humans were never a pure logical animal. What's the point of excessive need for reasons? Xiaoxiu was not pleased with Jiang Chen's response. The graceful top lip bit on the bottom one, the rather blank expression seemed like she still hasn't gained a clear mind. Seeing that she hadn't said anything, Jiang Chen coughed and gently said. You are drunk. Don't drink this much in the future, now go get some rest. Although he didn't know what she was so fixated about, based on this response, she was not angry. She stood up wobbling, just as Jiang Chen let a sigh thinking she was going back to the room to sleep. She moved across and stood in front of him. Who do you like? The voice carried some intoxication, but the tone certainly carried CEO Xia's authority. The random questions threw Jiang Chen off. He forced a smile and didn't answer. He didn't know how to answer. After the last press conference, he already had a sense for Xiaoxiu's feelings towards him. Although she always put on a cold expression that kept people 1,000 miles away, her heart was still that of a child. As to why he said that, it was because only a child would believe coldness meant maturity. If it were someone without boundary, it wouldn't whatever, but Xiaoxiu. She definitely would not accept him being with other women. Or should we say any normal women would not? Jiang Chen asked himself. He certainly had feelings for her, but his feelings were just beginning to develop. As to giving up something for her, he could not do it. Jiang Chen hesitantly opened his mouth, but the words were stuck in his throat. I don't want to hear it. She shook her head, as her slightly messy but luscious hair waved. Suddenly, she made a move that completely left Jiang Chen dumbfounded. A delicate hand reached out as two fingers audaciously squeezed his chin. Jiang Chen stared at the pair of crystal-clear eyes. Her mouth opened slightly, and she moved in closer. His conscience told him, she was drunk, you should wake her up. But seeing the approaching, blushing, attractive face, he could not say a single word. The devil-like thought spun in his head as Jiang Chen gulped. She is the one being proactive. If I pretend I don't know. But suddenly, an untimely ringtone disrupted this tranquil moment. Xia Shiyu's action stopped abruptly. The misty eyes regained a hint of clarity as she looked at Jiang Chen ever so close to her. I'll take a phone call. Jiang Chen got up and escaped. Xia Shiyu froze blankly there. Her face began to turn red. Even under the not-so-bright moonlight, it was apparent. What did I do? Fine droplets of sweat began to surface on her heated body. The alcohol evaporated with the sweat as she began to sober up. Without thinking, she dashed into the bedroom without turning around. Bam! The door slamming sound transmitted behind him as Xia Shiyu fled into the bedroom. Jiang Chen forced a smile as he looked at the phone. It was Aisha. Jiang Chen put his hand against the wall as he picked up the phone. Hello? He sensed some strangeness to Aisha calling him now. With a stick in her hand, Yan Xiaoyan gently pushed open the door. No one was there. She shook her head at the teammate behind her, signaling Lu Dahu to walk to the adjacent bedroom. Even if she carefully controlled her footsteps, the contact between her runners and the expensive wooden floor made a faint sound. Because they didn't know which bedroom Jiang Chen slept in, they had to use the dumbest method, which was to search the rooms one by one. Zhang Chao stayed on the first floor to prevent Jiang Chen from escaping. At the same time, he opened the signal jammer to prevent the target from calling the police. In the spacious living room, Zhang Chao scanned his surroundings. The bright green vision in the night vision goggles made the darkness not so frightening. Seeing the home theater on the wall, he was shocked. 85 inches 4K smart TV, as well as the TV screen. This at least cost upwards of $500,000, he mustered in his mind as he felt anxious. It was his first time kidnapping, and they were just not kidnapping an ordinary person. They were kidnapping the wealthy and influential president of future technology. He could only pray that Yan Xiaoyan was clean with her moves and their faces won't be revealed to Jiang Chen. Or else, Jiang Chen had hundreds of ways to make sure they never live in Wanghai City again. Just as he was still debating in his mind, something forcefully struck the back of his neck. Before he could react, he lost his conscience and fell to the ground. On the other side, Yan Xiaoyan was already on the third floor. To increase efficiency, she and Lu Dahu decided to advance separately. Just as she got to the gym, the room that previously had the lights on, she felt suddenly alerted. Without thinking, she immediately swept the stick behind her. The sound of air breaking echoed as the hit obviously missed. Easily dodging the strike, Aisha, with a grim look, moved. When she thought the situation couldn't get any worse, Yan Xiaoyan immediately kicked up her leg and blocked the lightning-fast roundhouse kick. Ouch! Sharp pain transmitted from her legs. Cold sweat began to drop from Yan Xiaoyan's forehead as fear began to overwhelm her. They were not on the same level. She was part of the national competition before, but even in the championship match, she never felt such powerful force. Yan Xiaoyan quickly moved back, but she was already backed up against the window. The pristine moonlight shed into the room as she felt her vision increase drastically. She pulled off the annoying night vision goggles, only leaving the mask on her face. Yan Xiaoyan stared at the girl approaching her. The girl was not tall, she could even be described as tiny. Her wavy hair was tied into a ponytail. She had an exotic, gorgeous face, but all these factors were not critical. What made Yan Xiaoyan frantic was the grim-looking eyes. They were looking at her as if she was a dead body. The desire to kill was immense. Chapter 165, A Farce. Hearing noise coming from the gym, Lu Dahu quickly rushed over. When he saw Yan Xiaoyan confronting Aisha, he held his breath and sneaked up behind her in an attempt to choke her from behind. Yan Xiaoyan also held her breath when she saw Lu Dahu approach Aisha from the back. Her heart was about to jump out. When she thought the plan was about to work, she saw a sneer from the corner of Aisha's mouth. She moved like a leopard. The girl turned around and performed a roundhouse kick. The swift action directly landed on Lu Dahu's unguarded chest. The power, disproportionate to her size, kicked the almost 200 pounds, well-built man, away. Yan Xiaoyan looked at the scene in disbelief as the hand carrying the stick shook uncontrollably. Although she held a weapon in hand, it did not bring her the slightest sense of safety. However, she didn't back down. Aisha looked at her in silence. Then, grabbing the box-shaped signal jammer from her back, she turned off the power. Xiaoyan, how's the progress going? Seeing the communication channel was restored, Xiaolei desperately asked. Lei. I might dash, Yan Xiaoyan said with bitterness in her voice. But before she finished her sentence, the communication channel ceased again. Aisha restarted the signal jammer, tossed the device away, and opened the EP on her wrist. The wireless tracker in her pocket already sent the communication information to the EP. It marked 2 related red dots on the EP map. Utilizing the brief window when the communication channel was restored, she located the commander's coordinates. The magic of future technology was something these primitives would never understand. Yan Xiaoyan was shaking when she saw Aisha's series of moves. She didn't know what she was doing. The calmness before had completely vanished. The confidence she built based on her fighting ability was quickly shattered by the clean moves of the girl in front of her. But, for him? Yan Xiaoyan's eyes were reignited with courage when she thought of Xiaolei. She gritted her teeth and dashed at Aisha, kicking with lightning speed. Since she was at a disadvantage in terms of defense, she must attack. This kick was aimed directly at Aisha's head. But the girl remained calm. Unlike what Yan Xiaoyan had imagined, she easily dodged her kick. Then, with cat-like agility, Aisha was behind her. As Yan Xiaoyan had guessed, they were not on the same level. Before she was able to react, a sharp pain came from the back of her neck, making her lose consciousness. She immediately fell to the ground. Someone attacked the mansion, Aisha concisely reported. Jiang Chen's expression changed immediately. Are you okay? I'm okay. The attackers had some creative ideas, but the techniques they used were that of an amateur's. Based on the skill levels of those people, they must have someone strong assisting them to avoid the patrol team. Based on initial speculation, that person should be a hacker proficient in cyber warfare, Aisha said softly as she looked grimly at the 3 people lying in the basement with their hands and feet tied up. Hearing Aisha was safe, Jiang Chen was relieved. But then he quickly realized that his worry was a bit unwarranted. After deliberating for a moment, Jiang Chen asked in an undertone, do you know who sent them there? Not clear yet. But I already have the coordinates of the hacker. I'll send it to you by phone. I'll take care of it. Jiang Chen hung up the phone. Shortly after, little white shook as a picture of the coordinates were sent to Jiang Chen's phone. 2 dots were connected. 1 dot was located in his mansion, while the other one was located in the rural area of Wanghai City. He looked in the direction of Xia Shiyu's bedroom and hesitated. But in the end, he sighed. He decided not to go up and knock on the door. Instead, he put on his shoes and left the apartment. With her back against the cold wooden door, Xia Shiyu hugged her knees as she buried her head in her arms. However, through her arms, the red hue on her gorgeous face could still be seen. Woo, I want to die. What did I just do? A soft whimper escaped her mouth as her ostrich-like head buried deeper between her legs. Her thoughts were a mess. The furious pounding in her left chest was too distracting. What if he knocks on the door? Should I open it? But I almost just did that kind of thing. I want to die. This is so embarrassing. But I should open the door. It would be rude just to leave him hanging in the living room. If I explained, it would get rid of the dash. Bang! The sound of the door closing transmitted through from the outside. Xia Shiyu paused for a moment as she slowly lifted her head up. Seemed to be the front door. He left? He just left? While she let out a sigh of relief, for some reason, she felt disappointed. But as to why she felt disappointed, she couldn't give a reason. Driving furiously on the road, Jiang Chen glanced at the red dot on the GPS before he fixated his gaze back onto the road. He let out a sigh as he held onto the wheel. It would be better to find a chance and talk to her, he mumbled. Jiang Chen turned the steering wheel before parking the car near the target's community. Since it was a hacker proficient in cyber warfare, the community's cameras should be under their control? Definitely a possibility. Jiang Chen locked the door and walked towards the back door of the community. It was almost 12. Only a few windows in the community still had their lights on. He avoided a few obvious cameras as he approached the electric substation of the target's building. He opened the box and put his right hand inside. Charging the interdimensional bracelet. The energy of the bracelet was suddenly full. The brute intake of electric current instantly exceeded the threshold value of the substation. Without a doubt, the entire building lost power. A mocking smile appeared on Jiang Chen's face. He closed the box, put his hands in his pocket, and walked into the shadow. It was 12 at night. People who were still awake, and desperately wanting to restore the power rather than going to sleep, would probably be the only ones providing assistance. Regardless who it was, he only needed for the fish to take the bait. Xiaolei's eyes locked onto the screen as he nervously waited for his companion's response. The communication signal was interrupted. Did they get caught? Can't be. If they did, they would use the phone to communicate with me, the perpetrator. Damn it. Xiaolei's fist slammed onto the table. He did not consider a backup plan. He never thought about the changing variables within the plan. He started to regret the tracksuits. Even if he was out of solutions, he never should have come up with kidnapping. The evidence Black Tiger controlled would at max get him 10 years, but kidnapping. His face turned pale as he prayed. Xiaoyan, chubby tiger, Xiao Chao. Please be safe, please. But then, the entire building suddenly lost power. This made the already tense CLA jump. The fuse short-circuited? Can't be a power outage. There was no notice posted, he mustered as CLA left his seat. In the assumption that someone was caught, the opposing force must have obtained my location through interrogation. Then, I should have been caught already. The door definitely won't be able to block anyone. However, since no one is here, that means they should not have been caught but entered into a stalemate with the target. Without electricity, there was nothing he could do. Regardless, he must quickly restore power. Once it passes 12, the server would reset. If he wanted to provide support, he must hack into the server again. CLA left the room. Squeak dash. He carefully opened the door, cautiously looking into the pitch-black hallway. When he didn't see anyone, CLA let out an uneasy breath. Am I being too anxious? It made sense. If they already knew my location, what's the whole point of using the trick of cutting the power? But what he didn't know was that in the near-distant future, there would be a device that could locate communication signals. A device used by future snipers. Though of course, there will be signal jammers in the future, but right now, it was as easy as breathing for Aisha to location the coordinates of the communicator. The night's breeze was quite chilly. The pale hand of the teen tightened the zipper of his tracksuit. His entire face was hidden under the shadow of the hoodie. It was already autumn. Maybe it was time to buy Xiaolin some thicker clothes? When he thought about his sister, a gentle smile appeared on his face. Although the first reaction of most people was gloom when they first see him, she was the only one that didn't think so. Just like an angel. Yes, that's right, I will protect my sister. He screamed in his mind as the sudden adrenaline pushed away some of his fear. He went downstairs and headed straight to the electric substation that he was so familiar with. He opened the box but was stunned. Not right. He knew what a short fuse looked like, but he didn't see the entire meter being burnt out. You are the perpetrator behind the scenes, a sluggish voice said from behind him. CLA turned his head and saw a young man standing there with his hands in his pocket. He was observing him with interest in his eyes. Your left foot moved half a step back. I guess you want to run, but I suggest you don't do that. Jiang Chen sighed. Seeing his thoughts exposed, CLA became calm as he locked his eyes right onto Jiang Chen. Xiaoyan, you caught all my friends? You can say that. My bodyguard's comment about you guys it was well thought out, but clumsily executed. Jiang Chen laughed before continuing, first time doing this? CLA didn't answer. His mind spun furiously as he desperately tried to think of a way to escape. What was the intention of entering my mansion? If you don't answer, I will just default it to murder. Trust me, I have enough money to convince the judges. Kidnap. To obtain the key to the server, CLA squeezed out a few words in vain. Threatening worked. His face was extremely pale. It looked like that of someone who hadn't been outside for a long time. Around 1.60 m tall, he had a slim build and looked like a teen. Jiang Chen couldn't comprehend why this teen he has never met before wanted to kidnap him. For money? Or for other reasons? I don't want to use the truth-telling liquid on teens, it will have an uncontrollable effect on the developing brain, Jiang Chen mocked, but his tone held a hint of truth. You are Jiang Chen? CLA abruptly asked. Jiang Chen shrugged. Did you just realize? I recommend you answer my question before I use force. CLA let out a sigh as he confessed, Black Tiger made me do this. Jiang Chen's eyebrows raised as he didn't immediately believe his words. Who is Black Tiger? CLA laughed in agony. I don't know. If I knew, I would not be manipulated by him. Chapter 166, I can give you a chance. For your friend's safety, I have no choice but to invite you to take a walk with me. It was useless to object as Jiang Chen said this with an unrefusable tone. CLA's eyes strained for a moment before his shoulders finally loosened. I can go with you, could you give me 10 minutes? That depends on what you are going to do with this 10 minutes. He took a deep breath as CLA said, don't worry, just leaving a note. He thought for a moment, as Jiang Chen didn't refuse his request, he got a go-ahead gesture. Seeing Jiang Chen agreed, the teen was relieved and turned around to go upstairs. Jiang Chen's hands were in his pocket when he followed the teen up, holding onto a pistol. But the teen didn't play any tricks with him. He took out the key, opened the old-looking door, and walked inside into the room closest to the door. CLA took out the phone and turned on the flashlight which lit up the small room immediately. For desktops, 2 screens, wires tangled together and connected to unknown electronic equipment. Your work? Jiang Chen was slightly shocked. Uh-huh. CLA didn't seem to want to say anything else about the question as he answered concisely. He saw that the teen searched on the table for a while before picking up an MP3. It was uncommon to see such an out-of-date device. He seemed to have opened the voice recording function as he put the MP3 close to his mouth and said, Lin, I am sorry. Brother has to go somewhere really far. Although it is a bit shameless to say this, please forgive your unresponsible brother. Are you saying your will? Jiang Chen laughed. CLA ignored Jiang Chen as he took a deep breath and continued to say a few more things, such as, take care of yourself and the bank password is. Done? Jiang Chen asked. Although Jiang Chen felt sympathetic, he didn't plan on letting him off. Since he already committed to the act, he must have been mentally prepared for the plan to fail. CLA nodded as he looked seriously at Jiang Chen. I'm done. My sister is blind, I hope you don't hurt her. Don't worry, I don't hurt the innocent. Without saying anything else, CLA obediently followed Jiang Chen to the car and then to the mansion. The power outage in the community caused quite a commotion. Especially since they found out it was caused by human intervention. After the security confirmed the safety of every resident, they were surprised to find out there was no thief. Regardless, it was a good thing that nothing was lost. Since people who lived here were either influential or wealthy. If something did happen, then Wanhua Real Estate's reputation would suffer major damages. Therefore, after confirming each household, they categorized this power outage as an accident and did not inform the police. The power was restored. At the same time, in the basement of the mansion, Aisha crossed her arms in front of her chest as she looked expressionlessly at the three people with their hands tied behind their backs. Looking at her cold gaze, Yan Xiaoyan felt her body shake uncontrollably. She had never been so frightened before. The fighting ability she had been so proud of could not last 2 moves in front of this girl. At the time, footsteps came from upstairs. The iciness in Aisha's eyes suddenly melted. Yan Xiaoyan gulped as she looked with disbelief at the eyes that turned gentle instantly. You are back. Aisha stood up. Uh-huh. Jiang Chen rubbed her head, and then looked at the 3 people in the basement. Lei, how did you dash? Yan Xiaoyan couldn't control her voice. No one revealed his location. How did he get caught? I got caught. CLA revealed a bitter smile as he conscientiously extended both of his hands to Jiang Chen. Tie me up. Jiang Chen glanced at him as he signaled Aisha to put handcuffs on him. Then he looked at all 4 of them. Good. Since all the rats are caught, let's solve this problem once and for all. Then, Jiang Chen took out the truth-telling liquid from his pocket, passed it to Aisha, and stared at CLA. I ask, you answer. If I feel you are lying, then I'll use the truth-telling liquid. The interrogation began. CLA, without resistance, confessed to everything Jiang Chen asked. First, it was the identities of the 4. Veteran, unemployed military fanatic, female sports university student, and CLA, the high school dropout hacker. CLA was quite impressive in his ability. Known as Green Bird, he placed 3rd place within the Han Hacker Alliance. The most impressive achievement was hacking into an unscrupulous organization's server for 2 years consecutively and raising the flag on its homepage. Usually, he lived off of commission by completing missions for hire. Because of one mistake, a hacker called Black Tiger obtained his identity, which directly ended his brief career. Then he became the money-making tool of Black Tiger. The missions he accepted began to leave the boundary of the law. He was not afraid of going to jail, but what worried him most was his blind sister. If Black Tiger revealed his information, he would definitely be in there for quite a long time. He could not imagine, without him, how his sister would survive. After feeling conflicted for a long time, he decided to take this risk along with his 3 good friends. He decided to plan and execute a kidnap. Unfortunately, it failed. You guys are great friends. He asked you guys to kidnap, and you guys agree? Would you guys murder people if he asked you to? Jiang Chen looked mischievously at the 3 as he laughed. Zhao Chong retracted his neck, frightened by Jiang Chen's look, but Lu Dahu seemed calm. Then, Jiang Chen looked at the university student named Yan Xiaoyan. You? Seeing that your boyfriend is in trouble, you could risk going to jail for him? Yan Xiaoyan blushed. Just as she was about to argue they were only childhood sweetheart, CLA interrupted. I already told you everything I needed to tell you. I am willing to take full responsibility as long as you let my friends go. After he finished, CLA slowly lowered his head and kneeled on the ground. Everyone held their breath. Hearing that, Yan Xiaoyan wanted to defend for him, but she quickly realized that she had no excuse to do so. Including herself, they were all criminals. Jiang Chen expressionlessly overlooked CLA. Do you think you have the right to discuss terms with me? No. CLA lowered his head. After a brief silence, Jiang Chen suddenly began laughing. Although this comical gong show did not cause me any material losses, that doesn't mean I am open-minded enough to let you go consequence-free. But considering you were under the threat of someone else, I can give you a chance. I am willing to accept as long as you let my friends go. Lei. Yan Xiaoyan looked at Xialei with tears in her eyes. Oh? Are you not going to ask what it is before accepting? I will accept anything. This is my own fault. I don't want to trouble my friends anymore. Xialei took a deep breath as he said calmly. Hearing that, Jiang Chen nodded, looking rather pleased. Since you have agreed, then your request is easy. After everything is done, your friends can leave. Jiang Chen paused as he asked lightheartedly. How do you usually communicate with Black Tiger? By phone? Chapter 167, Following the Vine. Black Tiger, real name, Zhang Hao. A premium member of the Han Hacker Alliance, but his skill was rather ordinary. However, by coincidence, he managed to enter the personal computer of the renowned Greenbird and collected some critical evidence. When Xialei found out, it was too late. Zhang Hao already saved the information and pulled the cord. It was the most shameless way, but that was the most effective way. Regardless of how insane one's computer skill was, there was nothing one can do if the other person doesn't connect to the web. After that, he had reached the peak of his life. He controlled the personal information of the third-ranked hacker in the Han Hacker Alliance. He used this to blackmail him into completing challenging missions and then collecting the lucrative commission for himself. Not long ago he received a deal. 5 million renminbi commission. The mission was to hack into the new RFS server, delete all user information, and delete the game data inside the game's server. 5 million. It was enough to live half of his life in comfort. Black Tiger's eyes immediately turned red as he accepted the mission without hesitation, and then flung it to the hands of Xialei and threatened him to complete it. As to if Xialei had the ability to finish this mission, Black Tiger never questioned it for a single second. In his eyes, if he could hack into the server of an organization with a notorious reputation, there was no way he couldn't take care of a server of a private enterprise. But unfortunately, Xialei was completely out of sorts. When he was forced into the corner, Xialei had to take the riskiest route. And because of this, Xialei managed to get himself into serious trouble. In the morning, what woke Black Tiger from his sweet dream was his ringtone. He drowsily picked up the phone. Hello? Dash. The phone hung up? Black Tiger was lost for a moment as he looked confusingly at the phone. However, he didn't bother finding out who it was as he fell asleep again. What he didn't know was, the second he picked up the phone, his coordinates were marked on a map. The person named Black Tiger was also in Wanghai City. This saved Jiang Chen quite a bit of trouble. He drove the car onto the highway as he looked at the dot on the GPS. A mocking smile appeared on his face. Aisha was sitting in the front passenger seat, her long eyelashes swept together and eyes closed as she rested. Xialei sat in the back seat. The teen took off his hood and revealed a sickly pale face with anxiousness written all over it. As well, on his neck, he wore an electronic collar. Now that you are on your way to see your enemy, how do you feel? Jiang Chen casually asked. If possible, I want to punch him, Xialei mustered in a small voice. Haha, you'll have the chance. Jiang Chen smiled. Yan Xiaoyan and the gang were still locked in the mansion's basement. Before the whole event is resolved, they weren't allowed to leave. As to Xialei, he already reached an agreement with Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen won't go after his friends, and in exchange, he'll work for Jiang Chen for the next 10 years. Jiang Chen needed a talent capable of cyber warfare. Although Yao Yao's computer skill was impeccable, he couldn't bring it over to the modern world. 3 days later, Xialei will be flying to Niger. There, someone will pick him up. To maximize his ability, he'll receive military training for half a year, and learn more advanced computer knowledge. The source of the advanced computer knowledge naturally came from the digital library in the apocalypse. As to how advanced, around 10 years more advanced than the modern world. Although Jiang Chen was clueless, Yao Yao would organize the information for him. As to his sister Xiaolin, Jiang Chen will pay to send her to Frankfurt to receive the most advanced eye treatment. Speaking of this, I think you are quite similar to the typical protagonist in a novel. Jiang Chen glanced at Xialei in the mirror as he joked. Uh-huh. Xialei looked confusedly at Jiang Chen. Both parents are busy. You have a sister and an apartment. Both of my parents are not busy. They passed away a long time ago. This joke is not funny. A gloom fell over the teen's face. Ahem, sorry. Let's try another one? Let me think. King of Special Forces, possess a unique ability, return to city after 10 years. I think you are more similar to a protagonist, Xialei abruptly interrupted Jiang Chen. Doi? Jiang Chen subconsciously asked rhetorically but was astonished. Pretty King similar. The target was not too far from the Mingxing area. Another hour drive before the three arrived at their destination. The 6-story high apartments lined up in rows. The dull and unruly grass looked like it hasn't been taken care of for a long time. From any angle, the community was average. Because they went during work hours, there was not a lot of people in the community. Therefore, there was no one standing on the balcony looking curiously at the three people. However, they only knew Black Tiger's coordinates, they could not precisely locate his room. But Jiang Chen had other ways to determine the precise location. He stood under the apartment as he signaled Aisha, who already went upstairs, and called Black Tiger's number again. "Hello?" A male voice yawning transmitted from the other side of the phone. Aisha held the signal jammer as she gradually moved up floor by floor. "Hello? Do you make fake IDs? Can I get 10? Are you trustworthy?" Jiang Chen threw a bunch of questions in his face. "What?" Black Tiger was dumbfounded as he held the phone completely clueless. "I thought you made fake IDs. Your number is written on the wall. And that's why I called." Jiang Chen used a serious tone as he continued to make up elaborate lies. CLA, standing beside him, raised his eyebrows as he could not bear to watch any more of this. "You are F** King Red * ride dash." The voice ceased. Though, at the same time, Aisha was holding the signal jammer, standing in front of apt 402. Jiang Chen hung up the phone, waved at CLA, and went upstairs. "Go knock." Jiang Chen patted CLA's shoulder. CLA hesitated for a moment before walking up and knocking on the door. "Who is it?" Following the voice, footsteps could be heard gradually approaching. Then, the door quickly popped open. A man in his 30s peeked his messy-haired head out. The unshaven face looked sloppy, the sleepy eyes indicated that he had yet to wake up, and his right hand was holding onto a phone. When he saw CLA's face, his expression instantly changed. "Looks like it is him." Jiang Chen shrugged. He didn't expect someone with a pseudo-name as cool as Black Tiger to be someone this wretched. Black Tiger immediately tried to slam the door shut. But, one of CLA's foot was already wedged inside, and he simultaneously lifted his right hand to prevent the door from closing. His fist then forcefully smashed into Black Tiger's nose, making him fall backward with a bam as he hit the shoe rack. What are you doing? Wait, how did you find me here?" Black Tiger looked in horror at the enraged teen sitting on top of him. F***CKU. Blowing the anger off of his chest, CLA threw another punch right at the disgusting face. Black Tiger desperately tried to fend him off, but CLA already acquired the geographical advantage. His punches, from up to down, made it impossible for Black Tiger to fight back as his face had to take every single punch. CLA breathed heavily as he gritted his teeth and raised his hand once again. But this time, Jiang Chen held on to it. "Enough. If you keep hitting him, he will die." Hearing that, CLA stared at the faintly breathing Black Tiger as he finally stopped. Jiang Chen looked speechlessly at the bruised-up Black Tiger as he let out a troubled sigh. "Whatever. It's hard to interrogate you now in this condition. Just put on some medicine." Black Tiger didn't see Jiang Chen's face, which saved him a lot of trouble. Although truth-telling liquid would make him lose part of his memory, Jiang Chen didn't want to risk it. Aisha, who came in last, closed the door. She helped Jiang Chen drag Black Tiger into the living room, tied him to the chair and took out the truth-telling liquid. In around a minute's time, the man in his 30s rolled his eyes and stared blankly at the wall in front of him. It looked like the drug was effective. Seeing the look on Black Tiger's face, CLA gulped. He thought about how the drug was almost used on him as he felt a shivering chill down his spine. Name? Zhang Hao. A zombie-like response. Age? 32. 32. Who sent you the mission? I don't know. I registered on an intermediary website. After accepting the mission, the details were sent to my email. What's your email and password? Black Tiger, without resistance, recited out his email and password. Then, Jiang Chen ignored Black Tiger as he turned to look at CLA with a smile. Your first mission is here. Now that you have the email and password, as well as the device that accepted the mission, I want you to find out who the client was. CLA shook his head with a troubled smile. That's impossible. Since contact with the client was made through the intermediary website, then the email must be sent on behalf of the website. Then you should hack into the server of the middleman, through the back end, and dig the client out. CLA was shocked. Though looking at the stern expression on Jiang Chen's face, he took a deep breath. This is crazy. Hacking into the server of the intermediary website for hackers. Let me try. Be bold. There is someone here that's the scapegoat. Jiang Chen glanced at Black Tiger on the chair and laughed delightfully. When CLA passed Black Tiger, he stopped and asked him. Where is the evidence used to threaten Greenbird? On the computer, and on the USB drive that is on the second level of the bookshelf. When he got the answer he needed, CLA walked quickly into Black Tiger's room and managed to find the USB. He slammed the USB on the ground and smashed the nightmare that had threatened him for so long into pieces. He then found Black Tiger's personal computer. Although the unfamiliar device did not feel smooth, it was not a big deal for a hacker his level. He opened the computer and began to furiously type on the keyboard. "You haven't played with me for so long, are you just leaving me here?" Jiang Chen imagined her bitter expression and smiled, as his fingers began to type on the screen. "Miss me?" Buzz dash, the response speed of this girl was still shocking. "I have been busy. I made a trip overseas. *rubhead busy. Do you need me to reward you?" Smiley face. Seeing the cute emoji, the tip of Jiang Chen's mouth curved up. Adorable, can warm the bed, understanding, knows her limits. Although not the best girl to marry, a perfect mistress nonetheless. After coming back from Wanghai University, Jiang Chen paid for her breach of contract so she could gain her freedom and also become unemployed. Although he did become her sugar daddy, he still never delivered the movie promise. "I'll be on a vacation at Panu Island soon, do you want to come?" "Ido." Jiang Chen felt exasperated. Though, just as he was about to reply, CLA came out of the room. "I found it. This is the phone number and email of the client, based on all signs. The client is Lingyu Technology." "Lingyu Technology?" A sneer appeared on Jiang Chen's face. "Excellent. Time to take care of this problem." Chapter 168, The Malignant Event and Aftermath. October 16, 2015. It was not an ordinary day for Lingyu Technology. "What is going on? Tell me what is going on." Ling Zhongtian clung onto Qian Haiming's collar as he roared out with bloodshot eyes. Qian Haiming's mouth twitched, but he couldn't say a word. "Boss, please calm down. Our programmers are fixing the server. I have also called the police," the deputy assured me that he would quickly my *SS. Ling Zhongtian pushed Qian Haiming away as he breathed heavily. He used one hand to hold onto the table, while the other trembling hand pulled out a drawer and he grabbed his cardiac medication. His shaking fingers took several tries before twisting open the cap. Finally pouring a few capsules into his hand, Ling Zhongtian stuffed the medication in his mouth and chugged down some water with it. He closed his eyes to regather his breath before finally opening them again. His emotions seemed to have calmed down. Seeing that the boss was no longer angry, Qian Haiming, who stood on the side afraid to talk, finally let out a breath of air. But when he raised his head, he was shocked to find that the respectable boss was no longer there. The person who replaced him was a pale-looking old man that lost his ability to speak. Morning. Players from IMATM, Dota History logged onto the game as per their usual routine to finish their daily quest. But when they logged in, they were enraged to find out that their account returned to level 0. The diamond they obtained from gold, equipment, and real money. Were all F*King gone? There was only a brief explanation posted on the official site regarding this incident. Last night at around midnight, the server received a malicious attack from hackers. Programmers are currently working to restore lost user data and upgrading system security. For the inconvenience it may cause the users, Lingyu Technology express their deepest regret. Deep regret my *SS. The enraged players almost blew up Lingyu Technology's customer service. The customer service representatives would receive another call immediately after hanging up. However, there was nothing they can do to resolve the complaints of the players since they were not responsible for the operation. They could only follow the procedure of explaining the current situation to the players and asking them to remain calm, as well as assure them that the programmers were currently working to resolve the problem, and for them to please be patient. But it was futile. For the millions of angry players, the 100 customer service representative team was a drop of water in the vast ocean. When the angry players saw that the problem was not resolved and that the helpline was constantly busy, they directly dialed 315 to file a violation of rights against Lingyu Technology. They have purchased the diamonds, spent their time leveling up, and now it was all gone? However, these complaints were meaningless against Lingyu Technology as at the time of registration, there was a clause added at the bottom to offset such incidents. The final interpretation of this agreement was up to the discretion of the operator. Also, Han laws were ambiguous when it came to intellectual property protection. Rarely would there be a case where players have won a lawsuit against a game operator. But the negative reputation caused by the lost user data was hard to erase. Official forums had an influx of complaining players. The moderators had to increase the requirement for posting and began muting and banning people. Not only did this not control the status quo, but the players without a place to express their rage also began to flood into other forums. Major BBS 1 forums were all pulled into the midst of this event, as the few justice-seeking posts were instantly upvoted to the top. Every post under the influence of the Internet Army unified their statement, and in the name of holiness, began a crusade on the evil operator. Protecting their rights. Everyone selectively chose to forget that Lingyu Technology was also a victim. The real person that made them suffer losses was the hacker that attacked the server. As to how it escalated to this point, the internet army had their fair share of contribution. Once they swayed the opinion during the first outburst of anger, there was not much suspense in the remaining battle. Lingyu technology not only lost in skill but also public opinion. The players part of the internet crusade realized that the operator did not compensate for their loss. The promised 1,000 crystals for every player could not compensate the loss of the players that paid for 2,000. The project department's lack of action and the customer service's perfunctory were interpreted as arrogance. In the midst of disappointment and anger among the players, seeing that their votes by hands were useless, they began to vote with their feet. The crusade ended, because they had already given up on the game. Instead, they chose a better mobile game. There were better games on the market. The only reason they stood their ground on an almost out-of-date game was because of the emotional attachment, as well as the time and money sunk into it. But emotional attachment was certainly a fragile thing, as the attitude and response of the operator indeed broke the heart of the players that stood their ground. Seeing the account that they spent countless hours on being erased was more painful than seeing the game being shut down completely. Based on market analysis, the server operated by Lingyu Technology lost 89% of their users due to this data postage. While the servers operated by other companies did not receive a malicious attack, the after effect of the event resulted in a significant amount of users being lost. As if in one night, the Lingyu technology that forged miracles collapsed. At the same time, the new future technology was using its era-defining, new era to rise to dominance. The stars seemed to have aligned. New era was foretelling the end of the old era. Within the international airport at Wanghai City. Come back early? Yan Xiaoyan's eyes were brimming with tears. She gently bit her lip as she gazed into the teen's eyes. I will. Xiaolei felt his face burn from her stare. Zhang Chao hooked onto his neck with a smirk. Nice buddy. When did you get together with Xiaoyan? She is so violent. A deathly stare shot over as Zhang Chao backed away, causing a forced laugh. Sorry. Xiaolin frightenedly stood behind Xiaolei and held onto her brother's hand. It was her first time being on a plane. Though she has also never seen plane before. Xiaolei seemed to have sensed his sister's anxiousness as he gently squeezed her hand. The pale face that lacked sunlight displayed an unfitting tenderness. With her head lowered and face blushing, Xiaolin had a lot of things to tell her brother, but she could only faintly squeeze out one word. Xiaolei had a relieved smile as he rubbed his sister's head. He didn't know when Lu Dahu walked up to him felt him pat his shoulder. Take care. Xiaolei nodded firmly. Jiang Chen looked at the group of four from afar as he exclaimed arrogantly, acting on his seniority, it's good to be young. Aisha, who stood beside him, tilted her head. Her cold face displayed a confused expression. The goodbye was over. Xiaolei took his sister's hand, took a deep breath, and walked in Jiang Chen's direction. Ready? Jiang Chen smiled amiably. Although this teen did orchestrate a plan against him, surprisingly he did not hold any grudges. Perhaps because he didn't suffer any material damage? Or perhaps because he thought this person wasn't inherently bad. Regardless, the actual people that should be punished was already punished. Xiaolei nodded and then bowed while looking at him genuinely. Thank you. No problem. You can think of it as an exchange. Jiang Chen pointed at the electronic collar around his neck. Although it was an electronic collar, it was not thick. It was only a thin layer of silica gel, which didn't make it uncomfortable to wear. It would also easily pass through security screening, a convenient tool. Xiaolin looked curiously in her brother's direction and then in Jiang Chen's direction. Then, the adorable young face displayed a tender smile. She cutely bowed too as she said in a still childish voice. Thank you. Jiang Chen noticed that the color of her pupils was faint, as if it was covered by a thick layer of film. Even though she couldn't see, she could blossom a smile this powerful? No problem, Jiang Chen kneeled down and said with a smile. Jiang Chen noticed Xiaolei staring right at him. He paused for a second before he began to laugh. Are you really a Miko, Japanese culture, someone who likes their own sister? He stood up, patted the slim shoulder of the teen and said with a smirk. The teen didn't answer, but rather looked away with a flushed face. Xiaolin tilted her head as she confusedly pulled on Xiaolei's hand. She was still not at the age where she understood the meaning of Miko. Be assured. Train while you are there. Get more tanned, and you will look more lively. Jiang Chen used force when he patted the teen's back. When you get to Niger, there will be someone waiting for you at the airport. You can call him Uncle Ivan, he'll be responsible for training you like a man. What do you mean like dash? Jiang Chen ignored Xiaolei's protest as he interrupted him. You and your sister will stay for a day in Niger, then your sister will head to Charlotte Hospital in Frankfurt under the supervision of advanced caregivers. That's enough. Stop standing around and go, now. Thank you. Don't waste time, go board now. Seeing the departing silhouette of the brother and sister, Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed, and the corner of his mouth curled up. What, Aisha, do you have any questions? Jiang Chen noticed her rubbing her hair and the confusion in her eyes. Face slightly red, Aisha asked hesitantly, they are your enemy. Why did you let them go, and on top of that help them? Not every enemy is a real enemy. Eyes narrowed, Jiang Chen watched the brother and sister board and left Aisha a confusing answer. Aisha tilted her head, she didn't quite understand the meaning behind it. Jiang Chen took out his phone and called Xia Shiyu. Get the legal documents prepared. We are going to change our headquarters. When he said that, a bright smile appeared on his face. For the real enemy, he will show no mercy. 1. Bulletin board system, similar to a forum. 2. Vote with their feet, if they can't bring change, they can choose to leave. Chapter 169, You Should Thank Me. The earthquake has yet to settle 15 days after the Lingyu technology data hostage incident that shocked the country's mobile game industry. The perpetrator's intention was extreme malicious and didn't leave any ground for recovery. Despite how hard the Lingyu technology programmer tried, he couldn't manage to recover the lost user information. Based on industry experts' estimations, Lingyu Technology's direct loss was as high as 1.4 billion renminbi. The magnitude of the indirect damage was even harder to quantify given the scale. Regardless, the well-praised brand built through time has been tarnished. Even if Lingyu Technology tried to separate gamer operation from its business focus and shift to primarily game development, it would still be futile. No matter how good the game was, players refused to buy into it for no reasons other than the fact that the game came from Lingyu Technology. Without players, no operator would dare to carry the game. The game data was lost out of nowhere. Even if Lingyu Technology was a victim, why were their servers the only ones down while the others were fine? Couldn't they spend more money increasing the security of the servers? All in all, once the reputation had spread out, it was impossible to erase. Even the long-term partner of Lingyu Technology, 361 Corporation, maintained a cautious attitude with the newly developed game. This malicious internet crime not only shook the industry, the ripple even spread to other aspects. The angry players clearly escalated the incident. Once the industry news became a society topic, bureaus had to respond to the situation. Internet security was once again put on the table. Renren News published a headline that condemned the usage of criminal attack using hacking technology. It also indicated that the bureaus are currently in discussion for improving the law. At the same time, the investigation is currently ongoing. A team of internet security experts was quickly formed. The attacker's IP was quickly locked. Even after layers of masking, it still didn't escape the tracking of experts. Regardless of how skillful the hackers are, as long as they are here, they must leave some sort of clue. Zhang Hao, the Black Tiger, was quickly arrested. Although he cluelessly indicated that he was not involved, he still couldn't prove his innocence. The computer conducting the crime was found in his room. The frightened Zhang Hao frantically confessed the deal with Ling Zhongtian and CLA. He insisted that he was framed and that it must have been CLA. He was the third-ranked Green Bird on the Hacker Alliance. Only he had the ability to hack into Lingyu Technology's servers. But it was useless, he couldn't provide evidence. When he found out that the USB on his shelf disappeared, and the evidence stored in his computer vanished, Zhang Chao was completely dumbfounded. Because CLA already left the country with the reason of taking his sister to Germany for medical treatments, there was not enough evidence to prove his intent despite the suspicious source of funding. CLA's personal account did not change, only a securitized foreign account paid for the plane tickets and the medical expense. Although the action was mysterious in nature, mysteriousness could not be used as evidence. After spending a long time gathering evidence, the investigating team couldn't find any connection between the event and CLA. However, they did find something interesting. A few days ago, there was an illegal deal between Zhang Hao and Ling Zhongtian. A deal to attack Future Technology servers. However, the mission was cancelled from Zhang Hao's side, the reason being the commission was too low. Of course, he had no recollection of this. The explanation behind this is simple, because CLA used his computer, logged on his account, and cancelled the quest. The case was closed. The perpetrator, Zhang Hao, terminated the contract because of the commission conflict with Lingyu Technology's president, Ling Zhongtian. Therefore, he infiltrated Lingyu Technology's server, and permanently deleted the user data, which caused an insurmountable amount of economic loss to Lingyu Technology. Based on the extreme negative influence caused by society and the high value associated with the case, the Supreme Court's verdict was a life sentence. Zhang Hao appealed, but the Supreme Court directly rejected the plea for appeal and maintained the verdict. As for Ling Zhongtian, although he conducted illegal activity, it was merely an unsuccessful attempt, and thus it was hard to define the nature of the crime. He was not sentenced under the law for this reason. But it was yet to be over. Ling Zhongtian's hiring of a hacker to attack future technology was quickly exposed online by conscientious people, and Ling Zhongtian's identity instantly changed from the victim to the villain. Those who previously felt sympathy for him immediately turned against him and joined the new round of internet crusade against Lingyu technology. Of course, a small amount of voices suggested that it could be the conspiracy of future technology. After all, the collapse of the longtime industry leader Lingyu technology would benefit them the most. Of course, those voices were quickly labeled as conspirators and they vanished in the waves of public debate. With future technology's ability, why would they need to have a conspiracy against the competition? Lingyu technology's shit*tie games are comparable to a new era? The quite interesting thing was that the people defending future technology were the hardcore fans of Dota history and IMATM. Because they cared so much, they hated it even more. When they were so disappointed at Lingyu technology and decided to give future technology's new era out of boredom, they instantly realized that the game they defended for was a pile of sh*t. Therefore, future technology easily took the influx of Lingyu technology players and the number of registration broke through 50 million with an estimated revenue breaking through 400 million renminbi, shattering 2 records in the mobile game industry consecutively. Its dominance could not be challenged. The victory was already decided on the main battlefield, but the crossfire had yet to cease. Following the series of negative press and the direct result of downward pressure on revenue, Lingyu Technology's stock price triggered 10 consecutive circuit breaks and led the index in stock depreciation as the poorest performance company after the June stock market collapse. The total market cap was slashed off by 70% and broke through 1.5 billion. To avoid triggering loan clauses, Lingyu Technology had to increase collateral assets and pledge the about-to-be-completed Lingyu building at the value of 530 million to the bank before it finally stopped the plunge. Deep in red and excessive loan, Lingyu Technology was pushed into the corner without any solution. But at the time, Future Technology began making its moves. First, Future Technology published a statement on its official site to directly respond to the public opinion and condemn the majority shareholders Ling Zhongtian's illegal action against Future Technology, and officially sent the lawyer letter to Ling Zhongtian. Was Future Technology prepared to sue Lingyu Technology? Regardless of the result of the lawsuit, investors were hopeless with Lingyu Technology's future. The next day, Lingyu Technology once again triggered the circuit breaker. 4 days later, Lingyu Technology ended the week with 980 million market cap. Within 4 short days, Lingyu Technology lost the value of a building. To avoid triggering the clause, Ling Zhongtian had to increase the pledged asset, this time it was 33% of his share. He had no other choice. If he didn't pledge in more asset, the company would be forced to go into Chapter 11 bankruptcy. When that happens, not only will he lose everything, he will also have to carry a debt of 300 million. The about-to-be-completed Lingyu building costed 870 million and it was built with debt. The new game development and promotion had eaten away most of the profit. From the current status quo, the investments were unrecoverable. The lawyer letter was like declaring war. It only ignited the prelude to the battle. When Lingyu Technology broke the record for the highest monthly decrease, Future Technology's president began to increase Lingyu Technology's share on the secondary market and became the biggest shareholder at 37%. Because it was not disclosed, Jiang Chen was fined 600,000 by the Security Commission for an illegal transaction. But comparable to the profit he gained by shorting Lingyu Technology, the punishment was pocket change to Jiang Chen. Lingyu Technology ultimately changed hand. Lingyu Technology building had yet to finish the renovation, but under the demand of the new president, they organized a conference room with a row of table and chairs. Also based on the demand of the new president, a special shareholder meeting was announced. As to the identity of the new president, it was obviously Jiang Chen. Every shareholder's face was gloom. No, to be more precise, other than the people sitting at the end of the table, everyone's face was gloom. Jiang Chen leaned against the chair as he scanned all the shareholders present. Other than the Ling Zhongtian with white hair, he was surprised to find someone he knew. Sensing Jiang Chen's sight, Zhang Jianfeng smiled friendly at him. Why is he here? Jiang Chen still had some impression with Zhang Jianfeng. He represented 361 Corporation before during the negotiation with Future Technology. Although nothing came to fruition, in the end, Jiang Chen had high praises regarding this talent. 361 Corporation want to be involved in this? Jiang Chen muttered in his mind, but his expression didn't change in the slightest. He still maintained the bright smile and started speaking. Everyone, I think you should all thank me. Thank your mom. All the shareholders cursed in their mind, but no one dared to speak out loud. As to why? If it wasn't for me to increase the holding of your company's share which halted the plunge of Lingyu Technology's share price, the share in your hands would be scrap paper. Jiang Chen shrugged. Ling Zhongtian slowly looked over, the aged face no longer resembled this once proud prodigy. He once made his goal to become the Steve Jobs of mobile games, but in those blurred eyes, there was only a deep weariness left. To be the meat on someone's chopping board is to be at someone's mercy. The cracked lips opened and squeezed a sentence full of hatred. If you knew today would happen, why did you do it? Jiang Chen directly responded. Ling Zhongtian was out of words and didn't say anything else, he just stared at the document on the table and blanked out. Lingyu Technology Asset Restructure Proposal. Ahem, based on the current performance of the company, as the president, I think I should do something. He paused. Jiang Chen looked at the crowd holding their breath, a faint smile flashed across his face. But then the following sentence he said made every shareholder's mood plunge into the abyss. That's right. We are planning to initiate asset restructure. So first, I plan to sell the building dash. Who to sell it to? Is that even a question? Left hand to right hand, future technology needed a headquarter fitting for its name. Chapter 170, Split the Market. This is impossible. You can't do this. Mr. Jiang Chen, please don't bring your personal grudges into the shareholder meeting. I understand differences exist between you and ex-president Ling Zhongtian. This is called asset restructuring? This is robbery. Your motion will not be passed. Even if you are the biggest shareholder, Lingyu Technology will not permit you to do whatever you wish. Jiang Chen sipped from his tea on the table. Then, he sank into the chair relaxingly with his eyes narrowed, looking at the outraged shareholders. His gaze stopped on Ling Zhongtian for a brief moment, but the old man didn't look at him. He was still gravely staring at the documents on the table. He had already lost hope. Jiang Chen shook his head as he looked at the only person calmly sitting there, Zhang Jianfeng. 361 Corporation held 5% of Lingyu Technology. Although the ownership percentage was not high, it must have been purchased at a premium. This time Lingyu Technology's share plummet definite had an impact on 361 Corporation. On the other hand, as the third-party platform, 361 Corporation operated the servers for Dota under the consent of Lingyu Technology. Although 361 Corporation's server didn't suffer the same fate as the permanent loss of Lingyu Technology's user data, it certainly was negatively affected. As the representative sent by 361 Corporation, Jiang Chen didn't quite understand the motive behind Zhang Jianfeng's smiling face. What is 361 Corporation thinking? But regardless of what they had in mind, Jiang Chen was going to put the final nail in the coffin for Lingyu Technology. Before the vote, I want everyone to consider this. Lingyu Technology has fallen from Cloud 9 and has become an unprofitable corporation. Without exaggeration, it is facing the risk of being delisted. However, I am still here. If I leave, do you know what that means? After the shareholders' meeting, the stock will resume trading this afternoon. Whether it is going up or going down, would be based on the decision of everyone here. Jiang Chen's words turned everyone, but Zhang Jianfeng, pale. Because of the shareholders' meeting, the temporary suspension of the stock garnered a chance for Lingyu Technology to breathe. Furthermore, Jiang Chen's recent increase in his holdings definitely added a shot of adrenaline to the investors. If it became a signal for using Lingyu Technology as a shell company to list, after Lingyu Technology consecutive circuit breaks, it would be unrealistic for the stock to skyrocket. But if the restructuring plan failed, and Jiang Chen decreases his holding of Lingyu Technology, then it would be adding salt to Lingyu Technology's already massive wound. Once the stock resumed trading this afternoon, Lingyu Technology would not be able to escape the fate of its continuous freefall. Therefore, whether or not the stock in all the shareholders' hands become a piece of scrap paper would be at the discretion of Jiang Chen. At this time, someone stood up and threatened, 361 Corporation is also one of the shareholders, even if you forfeit your shares, they will start dash. Ahem, 361 Corporation maintains the same stance as the new president. If President Jiang chooses to decrease his holding, for 361 Corporation, your company will lose its investment value. Zhang Jianfeng shattered that person's fantasy. Seeing the person sit down at a complete loss, Jiang Chen looked at Zhang Jianfeng in surprise, but he didn't say anything. If there are no other opinions, let's start the voting process, Jiang Chen announced as he scanned everyone in the room. After the death-like announcement, all the shareholders cast their dispirited vote. The proposal passed without a doubt. Only Ling Zhongtian voted against it. The restructuring plan was as follows. First, Lingyu Technology is renamed Shenfeng Entertainment. Lingyu Technology will sell the about-to-be-completed Lingyu Technology building at a price of 600 million, and also bear the obligation for debt repayment. Because of a major error caused by his decision, ex-president Ling Zhongtian will be removed as a shareholder following company protocol, a vote where greater than two-thirds of shareholders agree, and his held shares will be forcefully transferred to other shareholders at market price. Based on the distribution plan negotiated, Jiang Chen's shares will increase to 40%, 361 corporations holding changes to 21%, becoming the second largest shareholder. Everyone knew Ling Zhongtian would lose a lot once the restructuring is complete. It would not be impossible to recover the market cap, but no one wanted to speak to him. Ling Zhongtian accepted the result in silence. He shakenly stood up from his spot and left the office. Everything here had nothing to do with him anymore. He started to feel regret, but what could regret do now? Business is like a battlefield. Any mercy could be fatal. After the partnership with Future Technology and 361 Corporation, Lingyu Corporation's future would be bright. But why would that matter? It had nothing to do with him anymore. He received the same fate as the Steve Jobs he idolizes, leaving the company he started. The only difference was, he could never come back. Seeing the trembling figure leave, Jiang Chen fell deep in thought. When the meeting ended, the shareholders began to leave, but Zhang Jianfeng stayed behind. As if Jiang Chen expected him to stay, he also remained seated and looked at him with a smile. "We meet again, President Jiang." Zhang Jianfeng walked toward Jiang Chen and extended his right hand. In less than 2 months' time, Future Technology has already developed to the point where they could sit equally on the same table. That's right. What do you think of the hand I had just played? Jiang Chen shook Zhang Jianfeng's hand as he smiled mischievously. Ruthless, Zhang Jianfeng only gave a one-word response. Jiang Chen laughed as he leaned on the chair, not responding. If Ling Zhongtian successfully destroyed Future Technology server data, he would definitely do the same thing. But unfortunately, that was the reality of things. With a thunderous stance, a critical hit was given to his opponent, worthy of the name dictator, was the headline of BBC. Mr. Zhang is overrating me. The odd time Jiang Chen was humble. But President Jiang doesn't think this decision lacked consideration? Zhang Jianfeng pulled up a chair and sat beside Jiang Chen as he began to talk in a casual tone. Oh? Jiang Chen responded in a disagreeing tone. Are you involved with Lingyu Technology server? No. Jiang Chen smiled. The security system was customized by 361 Corporation. That's unfortunate. Ling Zhongtian only bought insurance for the server but didn't buy it for the game's data. Would you pay the penalty for this? For the loss of data, our programmers have already provided support to the police, Zhang Jianfeng casually said. Isn't the hacker already caught? Jiang Chen also responded in a nonchalant tone. There is a hacker called Xiaolei. He has been in contact with Black Tiger before. Zhang Jianfeng locked his eyes onto Jiang Chen's. You are still bloating like usual, but you know it is useless on me. Jiang Chen picked up the teacup on the table as he smiled at him. Funny. Would the contact person be enough to confirm a crime? If so, it would be a pity for those people. Without evidence, everything was bullshit. The silence ensued for half a minute. President Jiang doesn't seem to care about the interest of Lingyu Technology. Zhang Jianfeng's topic suddenly changed as he looked in the direction of the door. Do you think New Era needs the resources of Lingyu Technology? We already controlled the high grounds of the market, Jiang Chen said nonchalantly as he put down the cup in his hand. The best part is about to come. Would you not consider a partnership? If it utilized 361 Phone Helpers platform, New Era's user base would climb to new heights. New Era currently will not consider opening third-party servers, Jiang Chen rejected expressionlessly. Funny. Not only would it involve cloud computing, but even if I gave the game to you, without the modified server, maintenance cost alone would make you go deep into the red. Since President Jiang is confident that you can control the premium game market, what's your opinion on casual games? Even with the existing high-quality premium games, casual games have not lost their market. Jiang Chen obviously considered pushing out a few casual games like Angry Birds and Temple Run, but the plan was never fulfilled. The reason was simply that those games depended on creativity, not software. Although the Apocalypse's technology was impeccable, it was pointless for casual games. Future Technology didn't possess any talents in game development. Therefore, the plan had to be rejected. But Zhang Jianfeng brought it up again. You mean? Jiang Chen was quite interested. We can work together. Zhang Jianfeng crossed his finger and genuinely looked at Jiang Chen. Lingyu Technology, no, Chenfeng Entertainment. Right now, it is a company we control together, right? We can definitely collaborate together with our talent base, and start a new project with the main focus being on the downstream market. Using 361 Phone Helper and Future 1.0, we could use both channels to promote it. With the power of the two companies, we can easily split the entire mobile game market. In the end, Zhang Jianfeng was almost enunciating word by word. Jiang Chen paused for a second before he started laughing. Did you selectively choose to ignore Baidu and Tencent? On the mobile platform, our ability is no less than any of them. Maybe President Jiang should be more confident with our alliance. Zhang Jianfeng smiled. I don't plan on giving this building up. Jiang Chen stared at the ceiling. Of course, as a trophy. The fact that it belongs to you now won't change. The building with a cost of 870 million was sold at a discount of 600 million. They were at least the second biggest shareholder of Chenfeng Entertainment. 361 Corporation was certainly willing to cut the loss. What about the previous Chenfeng employees? Jiang Chen asked softly. He originally planned to cut them completely, but now it seemed like it would be a waste to not use them. Work at the previous location? Or lease a floor in this building? It would be your decision. Zhang Jianfeng had a bright smile on because he knew Jiang Chen was tempted. No one would reject a cake that was put right in front of their mouth. If you brought up the partnership, in the beginning, we could have worked together a long time ago. Jiang Chen suddenly laughed. But it is still not too late, right? Zhang Jianfeng got up, extending his right hand once again. That's right. Because I think we should split this market. Also standing up, Jiang Chen held on to the extended hand with a triumphant smile on his face.